Listen, there is a reason why they say that making your first million is the hardest. And after that, every other million becomes that much easier. And I can tell you this from firsthand experience. I made my first $1 million at the age of 18 and have multiplied it every single year since then. And that's actually what I was thinking about last night. And that's what inspired me to make this video. I started thinking, how is it that every year making money and making millions becomes easier? And what was it that makes those first few years? Because yeah, I made my first million at 18, but that was after 4 years of entrepreneurship. So that is really the premise of today's video. I want to talk about the things that maybe aren't too fun, but will guarantee that you make your first $1 million. So real quick, I want to just discuss what makes that first million so difficult, just so you understand what stage of the journey you're at. And so that way you also relax and you enjoy the process and you enjoy the journey. You understand that this is a part of your process and it won't always be this hard. Now, the main reason, the main thing you need to get over is inertia. Inertia is the tendency for objects that are stationary to stay stationary. Let me put it very simply. If you were to go on a, let's say, 3-hour flight tomorrow, it would take your pilot about 5 minutes to take off and get you to cruising altitude. Now, with many hours to go, the pilot might check his gauges, and there, he's gonna notice that he's actually burned through 25% of his fuel in just the first few minutes of the journey. But your pilot wouldn't panic, because this is inertia in action. Getting something like a plane moving requires an enormous amount of energy. But once it's up in the air, it's actually remarkably efficient. It's just sipping fuel to stay cruising. And that's why millionaires find it so easy to keep earning money. They live at this altitude. They have the resources and the capital to print more. But I say this in the nicest way possible. You're still on the ground. Getting you up in the sky is gonna require a lot of fuel. So that's why in today's video, I'm gonna show you how to overcome your inertia and get you to the cruising altitude of millionaires. Now, the first thing I need you to do is I want you to stop looking at the Musks and the Bezoses of this world. I want you to look at the athletes, the Messis, the Hamiltons, the Federers. Now, you might look at interviews with these guys, marvel at their achievements, and think that nothing will be better than sitting with them at a bar picking their brain. Let me tell you something, because I'm friends with a lot of these athletes. There is no one I would rather speak to less than them, especially in the middle of the season, because they are so monastically focused on their goals, battling fatiguing diets and suffering through intense training regimes, that they are literally the least interesting people in the world. They don't have the time or energy to dedicate to a conversation, and they haven't consumed a piece of popular media in months. You're not going to learn what they think of a film or a celebrity gossip. They are in their bed at 9 p.m. every night and treating their bodies like a temple. In other words, these people aren't well-rounded. They don't do moderation. And guess what? To make your first million, that's what's required of you. You need to remove the idea that you're going to be this perfectly well-rounded gentleman just dancing and sauntering through life. If you are serious about making real money, you need to accept that everything you do needs to be singularly focused when you're first starting out. And before this starts to sound too much like inspiration porn, I need you to understand that this isn't the ideal human state. Humans need social interactions. Humans need hobbies. They need every element of the hierarchy of needs fulfilled. But what you'll need to do to overcome inertia is so painful, so repulsive to the human condition, that most people never do it. You need to accept that for the next 6 to 12 months, you're gonna be less well-rounded. You're gonna lose friends. You're not going to learn that language that you've always wanted to, or you're not going to hit your personal bests in the gym. Once you think of your life like that flight, it's easier to understand. You need to sacrifice a hell of a lot of fuel now to cruise at that millionaire altitude later. And I can tell you this is something I personally experienced. 2017 and even 2018 when I made my first million, all the way even to, I'd say, 2019. Those 3 years between 2017, 18, and 19, I had no hobbies. I didn't see my friends. I didn't do anything. And the funny thing is, as my career progressed, I reintroduced those hobbies and I ended up making substantially more money. But for that beginning stage, I had to just focus. That new hobby I wanted to learn? No. Oh, coffee catch-ups with friends? No. Watching some new Netflix TV show? No. When you are first starting out, you just have to be in a season and a period of your life where you say no to absolutely everything and anything that doesn't have a clear correlation to about the principles you need to apply to make money. But I also appreciate that there's a lot of you watching this right now wondering, okay, how do I actually make money? And that is why I launched Digital Launchpad. It is the only educational platform in the world created specifically for this reason. Inside of it, you have a selection of 10 programs at the moment, countless ways to make money, taught by the best of the best experts in the world. And not only that, for the rest of the year, we have one new program launching every single month. And you can get access to all of it for only $37 a month, or for less than 73 cents a day if you get the annual plan. So go ahead and check the first link in the description. I guarantee it's the best decision you make this year. Now, going back to my last point about distractions, if you look at one of the most famous figures in British history, the twice Prime Minister, the Duke of Wellington, maybe for those that didn't grow up in the UK like I did, this means absolutely nothing. But for anyone who's in the UK, you'll know that he is celebrated all over London with statues and pubs named in his honor, and his greatest victory was the defeat of Napoleon in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. What most people don't know, unless you've read extensive books on him growing up like I did, is that he was actually a great musician. In fact, as a child, that's pretty much all he did. That's all he succeeded at. He was regarded by his teachers, his parents, and anyone he worked with as a failure. Then after being rejected for a marriage proposal and being told that he would amount to nothing, he did something that changed his life. He picked up his violin, he walked to his fireplace, he threw it in there, and he watched it burn. Now, if you don't already know, I'll just let you go ahead and research his impact to understand his importance in history. But safe to say, the reason I'm here and speaking to you in English is because he put away his childish distractions. He realized that his violin, as much as he loved it, and it was great, and it was a fun little hobby, was that and that only. A hobby. It was not the domain in his life that he was gonna go out and conquer and achieve all his goals. No, it was just a hobby. And to have that sort of insight is so special. You know, there's so many things in my life where they're hobbies, and I leave them as hobbies because I understand this is not my lane. And this, quite frankly, is a distraction. And I'm allowed to have hobbies just as long as my hobbies do not distract me from the main thing. So as you hear all of this, to me it's still slightly baffling that you still have TikTok or Instagram on your phone, unless you are using it to monetize somehow. Now listen, we live in an attention economy, and there are thousands of people and businesses desperately trying to get yours. You've got Meta and TikTok who employ the same people who make gambling machines to program addictive qualities into their apps. Getting your attention back requires an incredible dedication to removing the distractions from your life. I remember when I was 14, I was flipping Instagram accounts. I bought a PlayStation.